Goodenough College is a postgraduate student residence located in Bloomsbury, central London. Established in the 1930s to provide accommodation for students from the British colonies, Goodenough now houses more than 700 students from all around the world. The college offers a thriving intra-community life for its residents, with over 70 clubs and interest groups, a common dining hall, a library and a subsidised bar. The surrounding neighbourhood, Bloomsbury, is a historic area of London with a mix of elegant Georgian squares, modern local authority housing, a retail district centred on the Brunswick shopping centre, and upmarket boutiques on Lamb's Conduit Street. In this video, we explore how Goodenough residents interact with the surrounding Bloomsbury community. What do their day-to-day activities tell us about the lives of postgraduate students in London and their role in the wider community?
I think being in London, generally, enables me to be the highest version of myself. When I think of my tattoo, which I will presumably have for the rest of my life, I will always remember this time period. So I have a very positive association between my tattoo and this time period at Goodenough. They have very good washing facilities. They have printing and media facilities so that I don't have to go to school or to the library to print, for example. I can print my papers right downstairs. They have a music room, so sometimes you'll find people just randomly playing pianos. It's very pleasant, little things like that. They have 2 libraries here. It's very, very student friendly. I discovered yesterday, for example, that they even have playrooms for children. I think they've really taken care of student needs in possibly every dimension. The Great Hall it presents a fantastic opportunity to meet new people, and for persons you've already met, it presents a wonderful opportunity to cement bonds that you've made with people. I'm more actively involved so there are cultural weeks at Goodenough College. So there was a Balkan week there, there's a Chinese week, an Indian week. So this week is actually the Caribbean week, so I'm taking part in terms of planning and administering and executing quite a number of activities, and that involves a social dimension as well. I'm doing postgraduate study, living among students, also doing postgraduate study. And I find myself living among particularly intelligent, motivated, ambitious, driven students. And that being in this environment, which I'll call a bubble, it's a bubble of intellectual stimulation. So I myself am motivated by it. I don't have this experience back home because obviously I have very smart friends back home, but not in the kind of concentration that exists here.
The Brunswick tends to be like a huge center. The Brunswick Center tends to be a huge center in Bloomsbury, people, congregating there. In relation to Goodenough, if I'm there on a Saturday around lunchtime, I will definitely see at least 5 people that I know. And that's the same with Bloomsbury in general, where it's so small and Goodenough has so many people, and you tend to get to know a lot of them. So walking around Bloomsbury, you'll see people that you know walking to class or just, doing their thing. But it's really cool to have that because you've only just moved to the country, but still you know so many people in the neighborhood. They love Goodenough College. Every time I tell them about events here, they'll be like, oh, you're going to a champagne night, or you're going to a wine tasting, or something like that. They come often to visit me here, and they know a lot more about it. And they actually really appreciate Goodenough. Some of them often mention that, oh, if I knew about Goodenough, I would have definitely, chosen to live here. People tend to put a lot into the community as well. We always have stuff going on. We also have a lot of people from different cultures, so they have different cultural things going on. So it's not the same sort of monotonous kind of event. It's always something new, always like new food or new sort of experiences to be.
Poojan works part-time in the G-Bar, a subsidised bar within
As I make more and more friends at Goodenough, or get closer to my friends at Goodenough, it's more and more difficult to balance like Goodenough life versus outside life. Because yesterday I was doing an interview with a professor, and he ended up I ended up finding out that he also lived at Goodenough for 3 years, and he made a really sort of passing comment. He's like, I'm pretty sure I would have finished my PhD a year earlier if I hadn't lived at Goodenough. Because it's like you tend to just get immersed in the community. You want to, especially if you're doing a PhD, if you're living here for more than 1 year, it becomes a very important part of your entire life.
I shop at Waitrose for my food, which is convenient because it's the largest, closest grocery store. It's a 5-minute walk away.
Lindsay is a member of the running club at Goodenough. She often runs either alone or with her friends along the canal, going east out towards Hackney or Victoria Park, or west towards Camden or Regent's Park.
The parks in London are really, really nice. I think London as a big city, it's really nice because it has a lot of green space that I try to take advantage of. So Regent's Park, Hyde Park are nice. On Saturday mornings, we do this thing called Park Run, which is sort of a community organized 5-kilometer running race that happens in a lot of different parks around London. And maybe I'll run through neighborhoods that I wouldn't run through otherwise. So it's nice. You just see more of the city. It sort of expands. Well, he's a man that sits and plays accordion just outside Corum's Fields, which is on Guildford Street, just around the corner from here. And I don't really know anything about him, sort of where he's from or why he always is sitting there playing accordion, why he chooses that spot. If I didn't live here, my community would be more expansive and less defined by geography, actually, because I would probably make stronger connections with people who lived in various parts of London. There isn't a typical experience of someone coming from overseas to live here, but I've had a very privileged and unique experience, I think. And maybe I haven't seen as much of just sort of everyday life in this city that many others would have.
Compared to what they report, I feel that I compare favorably in terms of my own experience here. So that's, I guess subjectively, but objectively based on what Goodenough College offers, I'm very happy with how things are here.
We are paying a lot of money to be here, and we are putting in a lot of our effort into maintaining this community as well. So it's just the way it is. I don't think too many people from outside of Goodenough are able to appreciate it, especially within the neighborhood.
I think mostly I feel like I've had a very, very privileged experience of living in the UK and living in London. And I know that my experience is not representative of many people who come here from overseas.